Hello again. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to perform a waist block. A waist block is used for an attack aimed at this region here, near the waist, hence the name. And it's used mainly against kicks, although it can be used against hand techniques if they're aiming for that region. Now the stances used for waist block are mainly L stance and rear foot stance, but it can also be used for vertical stance and X stance. You can use the outer forearm or the inner forearm. When you're doing the outer forearm, you bring it in an outward direction, like that. But it moves in a curve, unlike most blocks where it goes straight. For example, low block will go straight like that. And a lot of people do confuse this block with low block. It looks very similar, but the waist blocks are a lot higher because you need to protect that region, not the lower abdomen. So the elbow will be up, the elbow will be bent 45 degrees, but the fist is below the elbow because you need to intersect the kick. It could be a turning kick aiming for your floating ribs, so you block outwards, like that. Everything else pretty much the same as other blocks. You use sine wave, breathing, relax into a neutral position, the opposite arm extends, and you pull your fist back to your hip. But just remember to move this in a curve, so try not to emphasize any crossing of the arms, like this. Okay, just moves around, which means it's quite quick, which is very useful for attacks that come as a sudden attack. You can block very quickly, like that. There's no need to wind up too much, okay? Like that. So here's an example of L stance, outer forearm, waist block. And the palm is another tool that can be used in a similar way to the outer forearm. When you use the inner forearm for a waist block, the arm will move in an inward direction. Again in a circle, but it's more of a scooping action because you get out of line of the kick and scoop under and hopefully throw the opponent off balance. So very often it requires pivoting out the way, and as you circle, get under the leg and lift. Okay. The angle again is the same, 45 degrees outwards, like that. You make contact with the inner forearm, like this. Okay, so the opposite arm will extend and pull back as usual. Just try and get it in rhythm, relax, and like that. Okay. Drop, and at the end, just give it a little lift because that will help throw the opponent off balance. Remember, it's a kind of a scooping action. So here's an example of rear foot stance, inner forearm, waist block. So the waist block is very useful for blocking attacks which are too high for doing a low block, too low for doing a middle block. So it's that region in between. So it's very useful to have that in your repertoire for sparring. So practice that technique. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I hope you join me for my next lesson. Goodbye.